That's code 810 WHB for new customers to play $5, get $50 in Pick 6 credits. Better payouts, bigger wins, only on Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Void where prohibited. One per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
2 minutes, gentlemen. 2 minutes.
10-4.
In a clinical research study at our facility in Lenexa, Kansas. Volunteers must be available for 7 total nights and 13 outpatient visits. Qualified participants may receive compensation up to $16,500 for time and travel. Call ICON today at 913-210-5900. That's 913-210-5900.
Transform your home into a serene oasis with a pro-built pool and patio sunroom. Their expertly crafted sunrooms offer breathtaking views, natural light, and year-round comfort. Whether you're relaxing, entertaining, or simply enjoying the beauty of nature, their sunrooms are the perfect addition to your home. Visit them at 4708 Northwest Gateway Avenue in Riverside to see their stunning selection. Pro-built pool and patio, where your dream living space comes to life.
Nothing beats March Madness. The pure sound of a swish, the rattle of a slam dunk, the fans on their feet for the big moments. And the action just keeps getting better until a national champion is crowned. Hear all the action with Westwood One's exclusive coverage of the NCAA men's and women's tournaments right here.
Your home for March Madness. Sports Radio 810 WHB.
30 seconds. Now it's time to start paying off your bills. Paymore is the best place to turn your old electronics into cold, hard cash. If you've got some new electronics over the holidays, great. Bring in the old ones and turn them into cash right away at Paymore. They include a free data wipe, whether they purchase or recycle your old tech. Paymore now has 2 locations, 135th and Antioch at Overland Park and 1415 Douglas in Lee Summit. Paymore, the smart place to buy, sell, and trade electronics.
KCFX HD4 Harrisonville, K279PI Kansas City, 103.7 FM. Sports Radio 810 WHB, Kansas City.
America's largest all-sports radio station presents the #1 motorsports show for over 2 decades, Track Talk, brought to you by Rod End Supply and the Power Ride Midwest Lightning Sprints. Here are the racing boys, Scott Traylor and Kirk Elliott.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Track Talk here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. It's all brought to you by Rod End Supply, featuring the Power Ride Midwest Lightning Sprints. Kirk, we've been deprived of sprint car racing, haven't we?
Well, a little bit. The World of Outlaws got their shows in, but High Limit, not so much yet. So they were supposed to open up on Thursday night at Las Vegas Motor Speedway Dirt Track, but the weather caused a big problem there. You know, when winds are blowing at 30, 40, 50 miles an hour, that's not good for wing sprint car racing.
Right.
And there was a little bit of rain in the area the other night, so I had to pull the plug on Thursday night show. Then what they planned on doing last night was running the sprint car show after the truck race, which was on the big track nearby. But one problem with that, started raining during and before the truck race, and so that pushed the end of that till after 11 o'clock our time, so they decided to cancel the sprint car show over on the dirt track last night. So we're down to one show, and they're going to try to get it in tonight. I looked at the forecast out in Vegas. It looks like it's going to be good. All the bad weather has moved out, 0% chance of rain, so I think we're going to see racing tonight out there.
Giovanni Scelzi outrun David Gravel last night, didn't he?
That was in the World of Outlaws down in Texas. They raced at Kennedale Speedway last night, the first of 2 nights. They got the show in. And, yeah, Gio Scelzi holds off the very hot David Gravel, who I think had the rubber not taken on there last night. I think Gravel, he had the fastest car last night, it looked like to me. He just couldn't get around Gio.
I would agree with you on that one,
yeah.
Kurt.
Oh, by the way, we're going to hear from David Gravel coming up here in just a little bit. We had him on our Monday Mostly Motorsports show, and you're going to hear a little bit of that conversation coming up here in just a few minutes.
Also, we've got Johnny Allen is going to join us, and Jeremy Elliott as well.
Jeremy Elliott is the owner of Sprint Car Unlimited. That's a website covers sprint car racing across the country. I met Jeremy up at Knoxville. Very good guy, very good, accomplished sprint car writer from Pennsylvania. He's in Las Vegas right now, and he attended the press conference that High Limit had with Brad Sweet and Kyle Larson announcing their franchise system. So Jeremy's going to join us on Hour 2 exclusively on Race Boys to help us sort out how that works. I think it's kind of like, is it like the NASCAR charter system? Except they don't call it charter, they call it franchise.
And the only place that we're going to be able to see a World of Outlaw race is at 81 Speedway, right?
81, here in Kansas City, if you want to go see the World of Outlaws this year, you got to go to 81 Speedway, which is about 3 hours away. They're hosting the Outlaws 2 weeks from tonight. Or you go to Knoxville. They'll be up there in April. So we don't have a World of Outlaws race at US 36 Raceway this year, which that kind of bums us all out. But we'll have to go to either Knoxville, which we'll be at Knoxville, or 81 Speedway coming up here 2 weeks from tonight. So we'll hear from Johnny Allen, owner of 81 Speedway and Humboldt Speedway, talk about both of those racetracks. And Humboldt's already open. They ran last night. They had a show last night down there. They got it in, which kind of surprises me a little bit with all the bad weather that blew through late yesterday afternoon. They did get the races in at Humboldt.
Hey, Kirk, the Heartland Modified Tour is going to be running there as well.
They are, next weekend. That's that series at Trenton Berry, and they got together down at last year was their first full year. We saw a race out here at Valley Speedway last year. Great car counts in that series. No King of America this year at Humboldt. It's moved to Lucas Oil Speedway. So Humboldt Speedway.
Do you think that was a good move?
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it works out. Last year, the weather didn't cooperate with the King of America at Humboldt Speedway. They weren't able to get the last night in, and we'll see how that translates. You know, you get this time of the year, Scott, weather's a big issue, and will it be better at Lucas Oil Speedway? I think in terms of the facility and the grounds, the paved pits at Lucas Oil Speedway and so forth, if they get heavy rains or really bad weather, they're probably a little bit better equipped at Lucas Oil Speedway to handle the rain and the wet grounds and that sort of thing. So we'll see how it works out. Todd Staley, the owner of USMTS, is in charge of that operation, so we'll see if it works. Last weekend's coming up 2 weekends from this weekend at Lucas Oil Speedway, and it's a crown jewel event. King of America is one of the big modified events in the whole country, so we'll see if the transfer makes it work. I'm kind of sad in a little way because Humboldt Speedway was since 2011 hosted that event. They didn't have it in 2020 because of the pandemic. But I thought it was a very successful event at Humboldt Speedway. The weather just did not cooperate last year, and there's been several years where it didn't. Well, I guess that's what you have happen. You hold racing events around here in March, you're probably going to run into some bad weather. So we'll see if it's the right move. I'll let you know, Scott, what I think about it after it happens in a couple of weekends from now. So we'll see how it goes.
Well, hopefully it'll go well.
Yeah, I do too. So we love Lucas Oil Speedway too, but kind of sad it's not going to be at Humboldt Speedway. But we'll talk to Johnny Allen about that.
I think it makes more sense to move it down to Lucas Oil Speedway in my eyes.
On the surface of it, yeah, I think so. The thing about Humboldt is it's out. I'm not going to say it's out in the middle of nowhere because Lucas Oil Speedway is out in the middle of nowhere. But I think you got to depend on, camping and, fans kind of staying put for several days in a row because it's a multi-day event.
Right.
And, this day and age, fans won't travel to a race if they see a threat of bad weather. Used to be you would go ahead and go because you didn't have the communications that we have today where you could check the weather on the fly on your cell phone and you could make decisions. Nowadays, people see a big threat of bad weather, they'll stay home. And that wasn't always the case.
Well, I think it makes more sense because they have a bunch of camping spots down there at Lucas Oil Speedway.
They do. And people,
a bunch of hookups down there as well.
And Lucas Oil Speedway hosts other big events where people go and camp, like the Show Me 100 and the Jesse Hockett Daniel McMillan Memorial. So those are major events that people have already been used to bringing their campers down and camping out. And
right.
That's how you when you got racetracks out in the country like that, you got to depend on people camping.
The problem with Humboldt is that they don't have those hookups down there.
I don't think so. We can ask Johnny about that. I'm not sure what the hookup situation is at Humboldt Speedway, but it's not as big a campground as at Lucas Oil Speedway. So we'll check all that out. We'll know in a couple of weeks. Hopefully, keep our fingers crossed the weather cooperates, which you just never know this time of the year. Next weekend, they'll host the Heartland Modified Tour for a 2-day show. So that's a good series. So I think that'll work.
My favorite race of the whole year is the Jesse Hockett Daniel McMillan Memorial.
Yeah, I love that event. It was a Power I event for the first time last year. For years, it was ASCS 360 wing sprint cars. Car count just a little bit off at the Jesse Hockett Daniel McMillan Memorial last year, but that's because they went to 410s. But I think Kenny
what was
Brown,
the car count down there last year, Kurt?
Now you're testing my mind now. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was
around 40 cars.
40, I want to say, as I recall.
Right.
But anyway, the winner got DQ'd at the Jesse Hockett last year. Remember that? Jake
right.
Buback. What was he, underweight? What was that?
I'm not sure what the problem was.
Anyway, I think Kenny Brown will build that back up with the 410 wing sprint cars at the Jesse Hockett Daniel McMillan Memorials. Of course, they got the non-wing sprint cars there as well. But the biggest event at Lucas Oil Speedway is the Show Me 100. That's over Memorial Weekend.
I think Kenny Brown has done a really good job with the Power I non-wing sprint cars and the wing sprint cars as well.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, this year they brought in a major sponsor, Honest Abe Roofing, to back that 410 wing sprint car series. So there's already a good number of guys that have committed to that series this year. And I think with the extra money and the point fund that Honest Abe Roofing has helped with that Power I 410 wing sprint car series, I think that takes it to a new level, shall we say. So I think that's in pretty good footing right now, what Kenny has done with that wing 410 sprint car series. So it'll be interesting to see just how that all plays out throughout the course of the year. But it's going to get a pretty good, solid support from the drivers in that series. I have no doubt about that.
Bobby Pierce picked up his first World of Outlaw win. How about that, Kurt?
Shocking news, huh? Does it again? Had a pretty good starting spot outside front row at Smoky Mountain Speedway last night. That's a pretty good start for if you put the 32 car on the outside of the front row, that's probably not good news for the competition. Wouldn't you say?
Jonathan Davenport, he started 8th and he ended up running 2nd.
Yeah, he was the biggest mover of the race. He might have had the fastest car in reality, but when Pierce is out in front of you, it's going to be pretty hard to get around him. Nick Hoffman started on the pole. He ends up 3rd. Dale McDowell and Devin Moran rounds out the top 5. Of course, Moran is favorite probably to win the Lucas Oil title this year. He ends up in the 5th spot ahead of Jimmy Owens. They've called off tonight's race at Smoky Mountain Speedway, Scott, because they're expecting some big tornadoes down in Tennessee today. That's not good news. Don't like hearing about that.
Our old friend Mike Marlar ended up running 8th.
Yeah, it looks like Mikey just might chase the World of Outlaws Tour this year. What do you think? He didn't show up at some of the Lucas Oil races down. I think any of the Lucas Oil races down in Florida, but he's been showing up at the World of Outlaw races. I think we're about a week away before those late model guys need to decide which direction they're going to go. That's when the first conflict happens between World of Outlaws and Lucas Oil, scheduled on the same weekend. That's when these guys will be forced to make a decision which way they want to go. But my guess is that Mikey Marlar will be running the World of Outlaws Tour this year. What do you think? He kind of goes back and forth. You see him one year go World of Outlaws, next year Lucas Oil like he did last year, and back and forth, or even pick and choose, they call it now. That's the big term they use now, Scott, pick and choose.
Right.
I call it outlaw, a full outlaw. Not World of Outlaws, but outlaw.
Eric Putzman, he left Casey Kane, didn't he?
Yeah, that's probably the biggest news to come out of Las Vegas, aside from the announcement of the franchise system for the High Limit Series. Eric Putzman used to be the longtime crew chief for Brad Sweet in that 49 car. He was up through last year when it was decided that Eric would be the overall team manager of Casey Kane Racing. And at that time, Casey had decided that he wasn't going to chase the full High Limit Tour. And then, after bringing on a couple of sponsors like Caravan and a couple of other sponsors, Casey then decided, well, I'm going to go full-time on the High Limit Tour this year. And Eric Putzman was going to be his crew chief after Ty Wolfgang was promoted to be the crew chief at Brad Sweet's 49 car. Previously, Ty Wolfgang had been the car chief, I called it. So Eric Putzman was all ready, and then just a couple of days before High Limit was supposed to open up out in Las Vegas, it was announced, I think Jeremy Elliott broke that story on SprintCarUnlimited.com, as a matter of fact, that Eric Putzman was leaving Casey Kane Racing. Now, what he's going to do from here, I'm not really sure. We'll find out from Jeremy in hour 2 what else he knows about what the future plans might be for Eric Putzman. But how much of an impact do you think that's going to have over at Casey Kane Racing this year, Scott?
I think it's going to have a big impact. What do you think, Kurt?
Well, he was kind of the guy in charge of that 49 car. I think Ty Wolfgang is plenty capable of taking things forward this year.
He won 74 races.
Yeah, that's 5 straight World of Outlaw championships, and then the High Limit title last year. Yeah, I think the exit of somebody as accomplished as Eric Putzman has been will have an impact. How big a one, I guess time will tell. But certainly that's big news that broke out in Las Vegas. So what else is on your mind this morning?
Not much.
We had a truck race last night. Corey Heim wins the truck race. He had to recover from a speeding road penalty. I think that was the end of stage 1 last night. Heim sped on pit road, but his team got him back out in pretty good position. A couple of quick pit stops got Corey Heim back up front, and he wins at Las Vegas Motor Speedway last night. Grant Enfinger looked like he had a fast truck. I thought maybe at the end, on that last restarts, that Grant Enfinger might have had a shot at Corey Heim, but he was racing with Tanner Gray right there that kind of held him up. And Heim sped on to the victory.
What happened to Corey Day?
I'm not sure. I wasn't watching at the time that Corey Day
he
had any.
He run up front quite a bit in that race.
Me and Scott
What happened to him, Todd?
I don't know. Me and Scott were just talking about when I got in this morning. Scott and me were talking about it, and then I brought up the highlight thing, and even the highlight reel did not show.
He ended up running 27th.
Yeah, but he was in the top 10.
He was 2 laps down at the end.
Yeah, but he was in the top 10 all day. You know, for all three stages until that last stage. Something happened in that last stage, so I don't know if something happened. He must have got caught up in that wreck that they had, or caught up in that. But yeah, you're right, Kirk. He went full 2 laps down by the time the end of the race. But
finished 27th.
Yeah, he was top 10 first 2 stages, and
I
he
just
was
said that, Kirk.
Yeah, and he was leading the race there. He was battling. Who was that, Scott? He was battling somebody for the lead there, and he was. For the first stage. He finished second that first stage. So he had a good run. Was it one of the Gibbs guys? Wasn't he making I'm sorry, not one of the Gibbs guys, but one of the other sprint car guys was making their race debut yesterday. But I saw that Joe Gibbs, or one of the Ty Gibbs, is that what his name? He's making his sprint car race debut this week.
Yeah, Ty Gibbs was slated to run the high limit race in one of Chad Boat's cars. But not to be. And also, Christopher Bell was also supposed to run the high limit race for Don Kreitz, and that didn't happen. And now Darren Pippen's going to drive Don Kreitz's car tonight out there because C. Bell's got to get his mind on the.
He's got other priorities.
He's going to try to win 4 in a row at Las Vegas.
Do you think
he can do it?
I think he can do it. What do you think, Kurt?
That'd be big, wouldn't it? Last time it happened.
Bill Elliott.
No, it was actually Bill Elliott won it at the beginning of the season back in '92. Jimmy Johnson won 4 in a row in 2007. Remember that?
Mm-mm.
Yeah,
so
I think I remember
if
that.
C. Bell wins tomorrow, he would put himself on the same stature as Jimmy Johnson. He's not won 5 straight championships yet. Jimmy, that'll be hard for anybody to do, but Jimmy Johnson is the last guy to win 4 in a row in the Cup Series, and that's been 18 years ago now. So it's been a while. It's hard to do nowadays.
2007. So yeah,
it's hard to win 2 in a row now, let alone 4 in a row.
So yeah, he's chasing.
What do you think his chances are, Kirk?
Well, I think it's about as good as it's been in the previous 3 weeks on different racetracks too.
Well, that's the thing. It's all been different.
The first one at Atlanta was a big super speedway track.
Austin.
Then he wins on the road course at COTA, and then last week on the mile at
Phoenix.
So those are 3 completely different kinds
real
of
flat,
racetracks. Now he's going to a 4th different racetrack, a regular conventional 1.5 miles at Las Vegas.
Yeah, that's a flat track last week, and now you're out there on this beast. I'm like Kirk. It's kind of the luck of the draw what happens, but if you're going to put some money on anybody, I don't know why you wouldn't drop some money on C. Bell right now, right? I mean, he's got somebody in his back pocket that's.
If I'm going to bet on somebody, I prefer to go to the longer odds.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying if you're somebody saying who do you think could win this thing?
Who do you think's going to win, Kirk?
I'm going to say Larson.
That was going to be my pick.
Is going to win at Las Vegas. Here's the reason why he's won 2 out of the last 3 there.
Yeah, that's what I was just getting ready to say.
Logano won last fall, but Larson won the 2 races previous to that. So, and the way Larson ran last week. And here's the ironic thing about last week's race, Scott. Larson helped Bell win.
Yeah, he did.
Because he gave him a shove.
He shoved him right up out of there.
Right.
My pick, I think.
Who would have thought that?
I think I'll go ahead and. I mean, I was going to go ahead and go with Larson, but you know what? I think Kyle Busch at his home track, hometown. He's been running really well.
He's been running really well.
So my first pick will be Busch, and then probably William Byron again, maybe. He's been running pretty well last year.
William Byron.
That's right. So that's my 2 picks. I'll write those down. We'll get these guys' picks.
I think Byron won there 2 years
ago. 2 years ago. Yeah. That's right. So, yep, like I said, that's Busch is due, and no better place for him to do it than hometown track, and, he's probably got family there.
All right.
Cup cars will be on the track at 12:30 our time today. If you want to watch qualifying, it's on Prime Video. The Xfinity race at 3:30 this afternoon on the CW Network, and then tomorrow FS1 is where you can watch the Cup race at 2:30.
And where can you watch the high limit races on Flow tonight?
Flow Racing tonight,
right?
And that they're going to get it in. I just checked the forecast. It's supposed to be good tonight.
And Kennedale's going to be running their second race down at
tonight
on Dirt Vision.
Kennedale is just right outside of Dallas. Of course, we don't have Devil's Bowl Speedway anymore, which we're all sad about that. So they're at Kennedale Speedway Park. Where is that track? You've been there before?
I've been there a couple times.
Is that closer to Fort Worth or Dallas, or where exactly is that track?
It's closer to Dallas.
Yeah.
Right.
So they're going to get that show in tonight, and you can watch that on dirtvision.com if you want to check that out.
All right, we're going to take a break. More here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. It's Track Talk. It's all brought to you by Rod End Supply, featuring the POWRi Midwest Lightning Sprints. We'll be back in a moment. Stay tuned.
Track Talk. Rod End Supply is involved with a variety of motorsports as well as industrial applications with many different types of products. Since 1989, Rod End Supply has provided superior products priced competitively. Whether you're racing at the circle track or drag strip, rock climbing, or going off-road, Rod End Supply has an assortment of rod ends, radius rods, and specialty products to keep your equipment moving. Rod End Supply's experienced staff is ready and willing to help you with your needs. Their promise is to continue to provide a superior product with superior service so you can stay in front of the field no matter what it is. To learn more, go to rodendsupply.com.
Paid for client portrayal and endorsement. Choice.
You got 2 minutes, gentlemen.
Results for no guarantee of future results, and every case is different and must be judged on its own merits.
I got hurt in a car wreck. Give me one good reason why I should call DM Law.
How about 3 great reasons you should call us? 1, it's easy. You can hire us today on your phone. 2, it's fast. We can start helping you today. 3, the results.
After my wreck, DM Law got me $300,000. Mike's got this.
Call me. I've got this.
816-888-7500. Mike's got this.
Jeff Montgomery here. If you're a man dealing with frequent urination, multiple trips to the bathroom at night, or a weak urine stream, do what I did and call Miva Medical. Their new cutting-edge non-surgical procedure eliminated my symptoms. Board-certified Dr. Brown is very professional, knowledgeable, and helped put all of my worries at ease. As Kansas City's leaders in minimally invasive non-surgical treatments, I trusted Miva Medical and Dr. Brown to help me. If you're experiencing these symptoms, go to miva-medical.com. That's MIVA-medical.com.
Championship week continues today on Sports Radio 810, WHB, and ESPN Kansas City. Sports Radio 810 has the SEC semifinals beginning at noon. Then it's the Big 12 championship game live from Kansas City at 5, followed by the ACC championship game at 7:30. Sister station ESPN KC will have the Big 10 semifinals at noon, followed by the Big East championship and Conference USA championship. It's all on your home of March Madness and NCAA tournament. Sports Radio 810, WHB.
Icon is seeking healthy men and women ages 18 to 55 to participate in a clinical research study at our facility in Lenexa, Kansas. Non-smokers or light smokers allowed. Women must be of non-childbearing potential. Volunteers must be available for 1 stay of 29 nights and 2 outpatient visits. Qualified participants may receive compensation up to $14,400 for time of travel. Call Icon today at 913-210-5900. That's 913-210-5900.
Welcome back to Track Talk here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Kirk, we got David Gravel coming up.
Gravel is, despite his loss to Gio Celsi last night, is the hottest sprint car driver in the country right now. He's posted, I think, like 14 straight top 5 finishes this year, dating back to last year where he won the World of Outlaws championship. Came into last night on a 4-race winning streak, and Gravel is he's got it going on right now with the Todd Queering number 2. And earlier this week on Mostly Motorsports, we spoke with the reigning World of Outlaws champion, David Gravel. Here's part 1 of that conversation.
David Gravel, one of the hottest sprint car drivers in the country. He's got 3 wins, 8 starts, 8 top 5s, 8 top 10s. David, you're doing a hell of a job there, bud.
Thank you, man. It's been a great start to the season, and a couple different racetracks this past weekend, and we were able to perform well. Not just performing at the first 6 at Volusia, so feels good.
How do you feel about winning the championship again next year? You got a 56-point lead right now. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's very early. We're not even 10% really into the season, I guess, probably at this point. But, we're off to a good start. We've got a lot of racing to go, so we're not trying to get too excited. But, it makes life a lot easier when you get off to a hot start. So, so far so good. Really proud of all our guys on our team doing a really good job.
And speaking of life becoming a lot easier as the night goes on is qualifying number 1, which you've done 4 straight times now. Boy, that when you qualify number 1, that really sets your night up great, doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure. If you could qualify in the top 3 every night, that definitely makes life a lot easier. And, right now we're qualifying really, really well. So getting those quick times is a great confidence booster, and, could kind of control your own destiny a little bit more. And, it's just all about putting yourself in position.
Hey, talk about your crew members, Cody, Zach, and Pete. Those guys are a big piece of your equation, aren't they?
Yeah, Cody's been my crew chief ever since I've been with Big Game Motorsports, and he's continuing to grow and evolve, and he's really coming into his own right now. And Pete is a new member of our team this year full-time, but in previous years, he's always helped us out at big events, and Zach has been with us all but 1 year at big games, so I believe this is his 4th season with us, and it's been a good ride so far, and they're all doing their jobs well.
That kind of stability is very important. You coming off this championship and keeping this crew together, just that is so critical, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a tough sport. These guys sacrifice a lot being away from their families at home majority of the year, and it's definitely appreciated. And the herd has been thinned with this stuff. There's way less people wanting to work on sprint cars, racing 80, 90 times a year. So the people you do have that do a good job are definitely appreciated.
That brings up the question, good help is hard to find, isn't it?
Oh, for sure, but I think you could say that anything in our world right now. It's the workforce is a struggle, and just something that we always have to navigate.
Todd Quiring has really done a lot for sprint car racing over the last many years, and of course, with Houston Speedway and what he's doing up there, and your race team. Just kind of talk about the relationship you have with Todd.
Yeah, Todd has done a lot for the sport since the mid-2000s, and continuing to grow big events and own several racetracks and own a awesome race team and provides us with everything that we need. So he's a very generous guy, and we need people that are wealthy like him in our sport to inject money into it, because it's an expensive sport and it costs a lot of money to run racetracks and make racetracks better. And he's pushing the envelope and trying to raise the bar overall.
Hey, David, Bill Baylog, he picked up the win at
Talladega.
Did you feel like you had a chance to gain on him a little bit?
Yeah, I had some opportunities when I got close. There was a couple lap cars I struggled to get around, and when that happened, the track kind of cleaned up and kind of gained some grip, and kind of got single file. So it was one of those things. I just needed to be a little bit more aggressive early and get by some lap cars a little sooner to have a real shot. But he had a great car and he moved around fearlessly, and he did a good job.
He drew a number 4 in the dash. You drew a number 5. That turned out to be a difference, didn't it?
Yeah, we had some opportunities to get by him in the dash and just, couldn't quite get the job done. So I think if we start a roll forward, it could be, it could have been us winning that race. But, you're trying not to do things that put yourself in harm and try to race smart. And, we ended up second.
What was the difference between the Talladega short track on Friday and Magnolia, where you raced out on Saturday? What was the big difference between those two races?
Yeah, just completely different places. Talladega, a small track, but very tight, not a lot of space to operate, where Magnolia is very wide, seems way wider, and a lot more round. Slightly bigger, not really a big track, but definitely not a small track. So it's a cool shape. I like that racetrack. It provides a lot of different angles and, racing lanes when the track allows it to. And, had a little bit more grip at Magnolia, and we were in hurry-up mode, and there was rain coming. So, I would say, Magnolia was definitely a faster pace race.
We got a picture of you and your son up on the top wing. Talk about that a little bit, and the family aspect of running with your family out on the road. Do you take them with you on your bus?
No, I don't have a bus. I typically fly home. I have a dually that tows my merchandise trailer, but I'm home this week, and my wife works, part-time, and so Levi's home most of the time. We get to go to all the Florida races together because we live in Florida, and they typically go to a lot of the Pennsylvania races and Kings Royal and Houston's High Bank and Knoxville Nationals and World Finals and stuff like that. So they go to about 7 race weekends a year, and I try to fly home as much as I can. And, it's a good change of pace for everybody, and, everybody doesn't get lonely at home or doesn't get burnt out on the road. So we kind of mix it up.
So that was kind of cool to start off the season. They were all at Volusia, right?
Yep. Typically we have lots of people coming from the Northeast to visit, and my parents were there and stuff like that. So it's always good to start at Volusia.
Let's get back. I want to get back to Magnolia. I'd never seen anybody as perfect as you were on Saturday night. You set quick time. You led every lap in the heat race, every lap in the dash, and every lap in the A main. Had you ever done that before? That's hard to do.
Yeah, I believe I have before, and sometimes it's your night, and that was our night. We drew the number 1 pill, and that's something that I'm not really accustomed to. So I think we're really hard to beat if you put us on the pole, and you start on the pole of everything. You expect to win.
So how much of it is horsepower? How much of it is set up of the race car? You're qualifying very well here lately. Number 1. It's not all about horsepower, is it?
It all depends on the track and the surface and the size. Some nights you need all the power, and sometimes you don't. But you need everything to be hitting on all cylinders. Your car's got to handle well. Your motor's got to be running, and as a driver, you got to hit your marks. So it's a full effort on all aspects, and one little thing can mess it all up.
Talk about the tacky tracks. That's the big problem for everybody. Horsepower is really good on tacky tracks, isn't it?
Yeah, when it's tacky, there's a lot of grip, and you could use all the power. And when it's slick, you could take away 100 horsepower, no problem, to help that out. So, you just got to adapt and see what the track's giving you and go from there.
That is the beauty of dirt track racing, is it not? You don't know what kind of a track you're going to get to, and just the challenge of tackling the different track conditions and the different racetracks. That's really what sets World of Outlaws and big-time sprint car racing apart from everything else, don't you think?
Yeah, you want to come and see if you can adapt 80 times a year. It's a hard thing. You're not going to get it right every night, and it's one of those things. It could beat you up sometimes, and you got to really pay attention and be open-minded, because what worked the night before might not work the next day. And even if you race at the same racetrack every day, it could be a little bit different every single time.
David Gravel ran second to Gio Scelzi last night.
Yeah, and this is just testament of just how well things are going for Gravel. He had problems at qualifying last night, had a wheel issue or something, and went out late and laid down a pretty good lap considering all of that.
He's got 3 wins.
Yeah. But I was going to say, in qualifying, he ended up, where was he? Fourth in the second group of qualifying, which didn't put him in as good a position. Of course, he come in with 4 straight qualifying runs, but he was still able to, finish in the top 2 of the heat race in order to get into that dash. And he's on the pole of the dash. He's the final guy to draw. You know, when they have the draw, he's the final guy to draw, and the only pill left is the number 1. So that falls in his lap. But I think this is where Gio Scelzi won the race last night, Scott. Gio won the dash, and Gravel finished second, which meant that on a rubber racetrack, Gravel had to start on the outside of the front row. I think that was proved to be pretty costly and helped Gio win that race last night.
Giovanni Scelzi is 174 points back of the leader.
That's a long
David
way
Gravel,
this early. That's a long way.
That's a long ways to get back. But David Gravel has 9 starts, 3 wins, 9 top 5s, and 9 top 10s.
That's incredible.
That's amazing.
14 straight times dating back to last year in the top 5. So he's got it going on, and I think you probably agree with me. I think he had the faster race car last night. He just couldn't get around Gio.
Right.
So.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, more of Track Talk. It's all brought to you by Rod End Supply, featuring the POWRi Midwest Lightning Sprints. Johnny Allen's going to join us next right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Talk. Rod End Supply is involved with a variety of motorsports as well as industrial applications with many different types of products.
All right, this one is your 1 minute break, so you guys will be back soon.
Okay, cool.
Rods and specialty products to keep your equipment moving. Rod End Supply's experienced staff is ready and willing to help you with your needs. Their promise is to continue to provide a superior product with superior service so you can stay in front of the field no matter what it is. To learn more, go to rodendsupply.com.
The madness has arrived from Kansas City. Tournament week is finally here. The madness officially gets underway. There is only one station big enough to bring you championship basketball. Sports Radio 810 WHB. Tournament coverage on Sports Radio 810 WHB is brought to you by Greenlight Dispensary. Make sure to check out greenlightdispensary.com for all premium cannabis products. The best cannabis deals are always at greenlightdispensary.com.
Stroll wide open spaces and find solace by the ponds in 700 acres of freedom. The CW Ranch and Farm venue offers a slice of tranquility in Fredonia, Kansas, an escape ready to explore. Perfect for your next corporate retreat, family reunion, wedding, or celebration. ATVs, fishing, jet skis, and pickleball, nature's beauties are backdrop. Inside, enjoy an arcade, pop-a-shot, pinball, ping pong, pool, and cue the karaoke. More at the CWFarmandRanchVenue.com.
Welcome back to Track Talk here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. It's all brought to you by Rod End Supply, featuring the POWRi Midwest Lightning Sprints. Joining us now is a good friend of the Racing Boys, Johnny Allen. Johnny, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing?
We're doing pretty good.
I'm amazed you got that race in Humboldt last night, huh?
Yeah, it was really strange circumstances, with the high winds and stuff. But since we weren't running any winged cars, and I just felt like that the guys had worked all winter getting their stuff ready, and they were enthused about racing, we took a chance and we got it in. We had some really good races, a bunch of good-looking race cars, and we're just very fortunate that we did get it in. There was some fires down here around this area and stuff that happened late in the afternoon, and some of the surrounding towns, and it was just kind of a mess.
I know I-70 was closed and I-40 was closed. How difficult was that for you?
Well, as a racer, I wanted to race if we could. Like I said, I talked to, we were getting calls from noon and before, are you still racing? We're coming from, 2.5 hours away or whatever. And
right.
Just want to make sure you're going to do it. So once you commit that you tell those people that you're going to do it, we definitely had to, and our fan camp was down last night. Our layout was just the worst it could be for the wind direction. It was blowing right on the grandstands, but the track held up real well, for the conditions. It didn't get rough or anything. Of course, there was dust blowing. There was a bunch of, dust in the air and stuff without the races going on, but it all went pretty good. My crew really stepped up and made it happen.
Are you a go tonight at 81 Speedway? You're going to try to race there tonight, right?
Yes, we have a practice this afternoon, and then we have an enduro race, starting at 6, I believe. And yeah, we're good to go. I'm usually out there by this time, but I've got my buddy Gene that helps me with the track. He was out there real early this morning and got some water on and stuff. So I'm just kind of easing my way over there now.
You're going to host the World of Outlaws here 2 weeks from tonight. This, we're in Kansas City, and if you want to see the World of Outlaws, 81 Speedway is about as close as you can get, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Just kind of the way the schedule worked out, and we're very excited to have the World Outlaw Sprint Cars back to 81 Speedway. It's always a great show. We really, it's one of the funnest races that we have all year because of the huge crowds that we get, and we've really geared up our services, our parking and concessions and beer sales to accommodate the bigger crowds. So we're really looking forward to it.
You're not hosting the King of America this year. Of course, we're all saddened that we weren't able to get that show in a year ago. It was bad weather the final night of that last year. I know Todd Staley in charge of that. What are your thoughts about the King of America no longer at Humboldt Speedway?
Well, it's kind of rough, bittersweet, because Ron Whitworth and I kind of put that deal together with Todd. I don't know how many years it was before, ago. And it has been a very good race for us in the past, but the last few years, whether it was the weather or just a change in the crowd, stuff like that, it hadn't really been as big of an event as what I'd like to see. And it was probably time to change it up a little bit, and I hope that they have good luck over at Wheatland. It's a beautiful facility over there, and maybe a change of venue is just what it needs.
So what are your thoughts about, Humboldt Speedway is a great facility and can host big events, but maybe a better time of the year would work. Is there any thoughts to putting together an event in the summertime that would take advantage of the great facility you have down there at Humboldt?
Yeah, we're always working on new things, and we've got a heck of a mod race next week with the Heartland Series. Friday and Saturday night, we're racing with the Heartland Mod Tour. I expect that we'll have 30-plus mods every night, and we'll have great support class racing, and if the weather's good, we should have a good crowd. So we're excited about that. We've also, this year at Humboldt, we're bringing back sprint cars. We've got a World Outlaw Late Mall race at Humboldt. We've got the Rev Series late malls, Comp Cam Super Dirt Car late malls. We've got big races scattered throughout the summer to try to take advantage of our great facility.
You're speaking a lot about late models. Talk about that a little bit, and why you go in that direction.
Seems like that Humboldt supports the late malls really well. We've tried sprint car races in the past that haven't been as successful, but our midget deal is growing. We got Extreme Midgets coming back. This will be the third or fourth year, and that event's really growing. The midgets put on a hell of a show on that, the Humboldt surface, the size of the racetrack and stuff. 81 Speedway, the other track that I promote, it's more of a sprint car fan base, and we seem to have better crowds, better results at 81 with the sprint cars. So, I guess it works out pretty good that we've got two facilities and we can accommodate, all the fans at one or the other. So we're excited about the schedule at both tracks this year.
So talk about, are you going to have 410s and 360s?
Yes. Yeah, at 81, we have 410s, 360s. Our sprint cars consist of the World Outlaws, the High Limit Series, which is a Wednesday night, and Kyle Larson will be there. I mean, that'll be a huge show. We have ASCS National 360 races and Sooner Region races. I believe we have OCRS at Humboldt, and we have OCRS at Humboldt, and it just kind of gives us a good mix.
You're one of the few facilities at 81 Speedway to be able to host both World of Outlaws and High Limit. Not many tracks get to do that. How are you able to pull that off?
I don't know how many tracks can do it. I think it's just we was able to do it because of our great fan following out there, and our proximity to population, and we've got a good relationship with both series, and we just try to do a good job.
Talk more about this Heartland Modified Tour event next weekend. We've been very impressed with the car counts that
Trenton Berry.
Trenton Berry, big part of that. Eric Chesterman. Those guys really worked hard, but the car counts have been really impressive. Their first full season last year. Just kind of talk more about this event next week and just how that's all going to lay out.
Well, first of all, it's a special event because we named it the Whitworth Family Tribute Races. The Whitworths put so much time into building Humboldt Speedway up, and I am honored to be a shepherd, to take care of the Speedway now. So we're excited about that, and we're actually on Saturday night we're having somewhat of a reunion for all the Whitworth employees and past employees of the track and stuff. We're inviting them out and going to have a get together, and I think that's going to be a lot of fun. And the Heartland Mod Tour is a great series. Racetracks really ought to be looking at it because it's affordable for the track, and it's really good racing, and it's got good entertainment value for the fans. So, it's a win-win deal. It's more geared towards your regional racers, but at any time, you might have 2 or 3 USMTS guys there, depending on the schedule.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I would expect that to draw a lot of big heavy hitters in the USMTS Tour this year, especially since it is Humboldt Speedway.
Yeah, it will. We do have some competition that weekend. There is a 100,000 win event at Salina, Oklahoma, and the professional racers are going to. Some of them are going to be there. It's going to split them up a little bit, but I still think that both races will be successful. We're far enough apart, and it's kind of 2 different clienteles. I was looking at the entry list, and they've got a lot of people that wouldn't travel to, the Heartland Mod Tour race at our place, Southern people and stuff. So I think it's going to be okay.
What are your thoughts about? I mean, you see some big events, they throw a lot of money at some of these big events. Is that a good thing or a bad thing when you see $100,000 being thrown at modified events? What are the downsides to that?
Well, when I was racing modifieds, I would have loved it.
Yeah.
You were pretty good. You were a pretty good racer as well, Johnny.
Well, thank you. We sure had a lot of fun doing it, and I missed a lot. But you know, I think it's positive, you know, for the sport. I think it's rough on the racetracks because it's hard to pay that much money out. I almost believe that you have to have a streaming company to be able to do stuff like that because the racetracks are losing some revenue because of the streaming. And, you know, people aren't coming out to the track. They're paying to see it at home. And I really think that's a deal that we're going to have to look at in the future to try to make sure that we've got a good platform to have these races. You know, it's a big partnership between the racers, the tracks, and the streaming companies, and we just got to get everything in balance.
Johnny, how difficult is it to be a weekly racing series? I know that Lakeside, their fan count is down.
Car count's down.
Car count is down as well. Talk about that as being a weekly racing series promoter. Talk about that a little bit.
It's really hard. I don't know what the answer is for sure. I mean, we're working hard and we're trying to figure that out and build it back up. I mean, I feel like at Humboldt, a lot of it is there's been a turnover. A lot of the racers that have been doing it for a long time are not racing now, and that hurts our grandstand because, you know, people used to come out and see their local heroes, and they want to come watch a race that has people they know in it, that, you know, their brother-in-law or their mechanic or the guy that they met at the Quick Lube, you know.
Right.
We need to build our drivers up right now and get those guys, the ones that are active in the sport, you know, make them the local heroes so that people, you know, want to do that. And of course, we always need new people in this. And there's just so many options for young people these days that unless they grew up, you know, ingrained with going to the races every Friday night and working on the race car, you know, out in the shop with their parents or with their buddies or, you know, whoever.
Right.
It's hard to find people that are willing to put in that much effort, you know.
Johnny, we can't thank you enough for taking the time to join us here on Track Talk. We can't thank you enough for doing so. It's all brought to you by Rod End Supply, featuring the PowerRide Midwest Lightning Sprints. We can't thank you enough for doing so.
So that's next Friday and Saturday night at Humboldt Speedway. We look forward to that event down there. And Johnny, that should be a great event.
Yes, I think it's going to be fantastic. I hope you guys can make it down to Humboldt Speedway and 81 Speedway some this year.
Absolutely. Thank you much, John.
You bet. Keep up the good work up there.
Hey, you bet. And then tonight at 81 Speedway and World of Outlaws coming up 2 weeks from tonight at 81.
Right.
So
anything to add?
No,
Kirk.
I just wanted.
It's very difficult to be a weekly racing series promoter.
Yeah, we're living in a different time now, Scott. You know, you got your streaming of the high level events. You got big time events like the World of Outlaws, High Limit, big time late model and sprint car racing, and it's all exposed now on streaming. And those are the stars now, and not so much the weekly stars. Do you think
streaming's taken away from it?
Well, it's taken away from the weekly racing as far as fans going to those types of events. We're just living in a different time right now.
Right. Would you agree with that, Todd?
Yeah, we kind of, you know, when we first started doing this kind of stuff, we kind of caught some slack. You know, people were saying, hey, you guys are broadcasting everything, but keeping people from coming out to the racetracks. I heard that a couple times, you know, when we were doing some of our stuff. It is what it is, guys. We're at the point.
Well, the good news about streaming, it's exposed dirt racing to more people that would have never thought about it had it not been exposed and where people can watch it.
Absolutely.
All right.
Good and bad to all of that.
Thanks, everybody, for tuning in to Track Talk here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Don't forget, hour number 2, you can watch it exclusively live on our Facebook, YouTube, and racingboys.com.
And don't forget, Monday, we have Mostly Motorsports. You can watch it live at 12 noon on racingboys.com, and we do a podcast. Bill Balog will be one of our guests on Monday.
All right, thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We can't thank you enough for doing so. We appreciate every one of you. We can't thank you enough for doing so.
Thank you, Jay Powers, back at Sports Radio 810. Todd, another great job.
All right, thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We'll see you next week right here on Track Talk.
Rod End Supply is involved with a variety of motorsports as well as industrial applications with many different types of products. Since 1989, Rod End Supply has provided superior products priced competitively. Whether you're racing at the circle track or drag strip, rock climbing, or going off-road, Rod End Supply has an assortment of rod ends, radius rods, and specialty products to keep your equipment moving. Rod End Supply's experienced staff is ready and willing to help you with your needs. Their promise is to continue to provide a superior product with superior service so you can stay in front of the field no matter what it is. To learn more, go to rodendsupply.com.
Don't miss your chance to experience
Thanks, my man. Appreciate it,
all the
brother.
KU game day excitement from your.
My apologies for fat fingering that second break. It was one of those things. I was like, I know I'm on the wrong button, and it pushed it anyway.
Nothing you can do at that point. I love live radio.
Yeah. All right.
Hey, bro.
I'll see you next
I
week,
appreciate it, man. Have a good week.
Industrial applications with many different types of products. Since 1989, Rod End Supply has provided superior products priced competitively. Whether you're racing at the circle track or drag strip, rock climbing, or going off-road, Rod End Supply has an assortment of rod ends, radius rods, and specialty products to keep your equipment moving. Rod End Supply's experienced staff is ready and willing to help you with your needs. Their promise is to continue to provide a superior product with superior service so you can stay in front of the field no matter what it is. To learn more, go to rodendsupply.com.
Spirit Specialty Sportswear in-house. We do all of the screen printing, all the embroidery. We do some vinyl. The other ad specialty items like your pens, magnets, notepads, calendars. You can actually buy that, build your business to make it larger. We have the largest screen printing process and the largest embroidery anywhere around in the area. We can do stuff all the way from your school clubs to sports teams, a professional look in the office. If you can imagine it, we can do it for you.
From the circle track to the drag strip to off-road racing, Rod End Supply has been keeping their customers at the front of the field since 1989. Whether you need rod ends, tubular rods, or specialty products, Bob Douglas and his Rod End Supply staff are always ready to help you with your needs. You can visit them on the web at rodendsupply.com or call them at 800-284-2902. That's 800-284-2902. Rod End Supply, keeping you at the front of the field.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Sabres 33 RLP. Let's go take a tour. Coming into this animal, we're going to take a trip back here to the feature of this trailer, the deck. Check it out. It's awesome. It's 4 by 10 feet. You can dance on the thing. Boom! Check it out. It's pretty nice. And then coming to the back of this thing, you got a 75-inch TV. It's huge. 60-inch fireplace. Nice and big, keep you warm. Then you got an ottoman that converts into a table, if you will, maybe some TV trays. Then this hide-a-bed that I'm pointing at, it comes out and folds into like a king-size bed with storage in the corner for all your linens. Great little addition to the trailer. Your dinette, of course. Then you're gonna come around to the kitchen with the tic-toc sink. It's got the spritzer and the waterfall and all that stuff. Residential style refrigerator. It's got the microwave and the oven that's residential as well. Big old pantry over here with motion detected lights, coffee bar, and then coming up to the bedroom, you'll have the bathroom first, nice and spacious with a seat in it for them ladies. And then we got the king size bedroom with washer dryer hookup. I'm telling you, this is a home run for a couples coach. Come and see me, Kyle Walker.
Steve died, the outpouring of love was amazing. These dollars had come together to support us, and we realized, no, we didn't want to use them for us. We wanted to use them to help others.
The foundation has done so much for so many people. It helps any family that has somebody, whether it be a crew member or one of the drivers, that get hurt. We can help them to get through the situation.
I was injured in a non-wing sprint car accident that broke my neck and left me with a spinal cord injury. I was in the hospital 8 months, and that got really, really expensive, so having that extra help to help push me and my family forward was a big deal.
Yes, Steve's death is the reason the foundation exists, but it's Steve's life and it's the lives of racers everywhere is the reason we're able to do the work we do.
So we have a lot of folks come in interested in traveling for work. This is going to be a great option. Your Coachman Northern Spirit 2565 front kitchen. You have a nice wraparound full front kitchen here. Huge windows up top. Big 12-volt refrigerator. Lots of windows on the sides here. Great natural light coming in. You have your big TV over here on the swing arm bracket so you can kind of see it from any point in the room. Also have your bar stools here. Sit and eat your breakfast. In the bedroom, you're going to have a king-size bed in the slide-out. Lots of storage underneath that. Washer, dryer, hookup. Tons of storage with the drawers. Then you got your full bath across the back. When it comes down to a camper that you can get for 6,500 pounds and be under 30 feet long, this is an absolute home run.
Race fans, the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum is open 7 days a week, year-round, for you to come in and check out all of the wonderful race cars on display in the museum. And our online store at sprintcarstuff.com is open 24 hours a day for you to check out everything that we have in stock for sprint car fans. Whether it's for a birthday, anniversary, or Christmas, sprintcarstuff.com has it all. That's at the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum in Knoxville.
Go harder, faster, stronger with Rod End Supply. Whether you are running industrial, farming equipment, or a race car, Rod End Supply has the assortment of rod ends, radius rods, and specialty products that will help you lead the field in performance. Our superior design means our rod ends last longer and perform better, giving you the edge on the track and saving you money. Contact Rod End Supply or order online today at rodendsupply.com. We don't just sell them, we race them. rodendsupply.com. Serving the racing community for over 30 years.
Hey everybody, this is Larry the Cable Guy, and you are listening to RacingBoys.com, and if you're not, I swear to you, get in your truck or do something, but get the hell out of this country, because you don't belong in it if you don't listen to these fellas.
It's time for America's most unique motorsports show, Track Talk, brought to you by Rod End Supply and the Power Ride Midwest Lightning Sprints. Here are the racing boys, Scott Traylor and Kirk Elliott.
Welcome back. Hour number 2 right here on Facebook, YouTube, and RacingBoys.com. Kirk, we talked a little bit about it during the break. I feel that live streaming has taken away from the weekly racing series.
I think that's a true statement. It's, the world has changed. And there's more than just streaming that has caused problems with weekly racing, but that's been part of it because it's exposed the high-level stuff to more people that that's what people are more interested in. The World of Outlaws, High Limit, World of Outlaw late models, Lucas Oil late models, the big high-profile series that's attracted all the major stars, USMTS. And that has diminished the weekly racing to a certain extent. But I also think what's contributed to that...
The Heartland Modified Tour as well.
Well, but that's helped in a number of different ways. I think in a lot of ways the Heartland Modified Tours help the weekly racetracks because you don't have to spend as much money to have those series, that particular series, into your racetrack, and you can bring in some stars while adding your weekly classes to the Heartland Modified Tour. So I think the Heartland Modified Tours actually help the weekly series more so than the major high-dollar series have.
In my eyes, streaming has really taken away from the fan base on the weekly racing series.
To a certain extent it has, but the other thing that weekly racing has suffered from is the number of kids coming up that have the wherewithal and the money to put together race cars to come to the racetrack. We're outgrowing the people who raced on a regular basis, having kids that are grown up into that and continuing on with the legacy of racing at the local level.
The problem is kids don't want to go to the races as much.
I mean, when you and I were growing up, Scott, especially us guys, we were into cars.
I went to Lakeside every Friday night, Riverside every Saturday night.
But those were the
days.
I
went with my Uncle Gene.
Yeah, and I went with my brother, and some good friends of mine were big into races. My parents were not big into races, so I didn't get it from that. I got it from my brother and, some good friends of mine. But there was nothing else to do back in those days except go to the racetrack. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have other options to spend time at when we were kids
Todd,
growing up.
Cell phones have really destroyed racing, haven't they?
I think anything that
it's
takes
not just racing.
Everything.
It's
just kind of
affected a lot of things.
It's taking your attention away from a lot of things. I do know. I mean, Johnny Allen talked about it in that interview we just talked about. It's kind of like if you haven't been grown up in this and indoctrinated into it, you're probably not going to be spending every weekend at that track. That's just kind of how that works. And
they don't even teach shop classes in school.
Well,
anymore.
and we understand. And here's the thing: the cars. In order for you to work on a car nowadays, it isn't like you're going to go out there and pull an engine in your backyard hanging from a tree. Those days are gone.
That's a very good point, Todd. No more shade tree mechanics anymore. You can't just work on your own cars like you used to.
If you want to build a car from the ground up and do something with an old stock engine and that kind of a thing, but as far as us working on car, hell, I don't even change my own oil no more. I mean.
Nobody does.
I used to change my oil all the way up until we moved out. Before I had my first kid, I changed my oil and you just.
They've got it so now you can't change your own.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Drucken Donald says cost has affected it too.
Absolutely, that's another thing right there. It just costs way too much money.
A-mods. I was talking about it with Chris Yance a couple days ago. The cost of an A-mod is really expensive. You can't afford to run the A-mods anymore because you got to have two motors, $20,000 a piece, and you got to have a $35,000 race car.
It's a lot of money. I mean, it's just the expense of it all has affected weekly racing, and that's why you don't see the car counts at any weekly racetrack like you used to. And as far as fan interest is concerned, Johnny Allen brought this up. You don't have the big name star power at the weekly level now. Those guys have moved on to the big time series.
They've retired.
Stars are at.
A lot of those drivers have retired.
Yeah.
Yep, you got your names that you knew retired. The other guys, they're plucking these kids so early now.
Right.
Kelly says cell phones are the biggest killer on the road today.
Absolutely.
That the reason I don't drive my truck any longer.
Well, yeah, cell phones, you got to put your phone in. They just passed the Missouri.
Put it down.
Passed the Missouri law.
Put the phone down while you're driving.
Hands free.
Hey.
Hands down, hands free.
I only talk to Kirk Elliott when I'm driving.
I figured you'd pull over at the side of the road if I call you. Of course, when I call you, I never know if you're in your car or where you're at, so. But nowadays, it's state law in Missouri. You can't be driving holding your phone up. Isn't that right?
They'll give you a lot of states are that way. I do know that.
I think it's a good law.
They're actively looking at it. Yeah, hands-free should be the way it should
Kelly
be.
says $20,000 on a motor. I think you're a little low on that price.
Yeah, you're looking at like 50,000 on the motors and 100,000. You're looking at. We talked about 100,000.
You got to have two motors, and two motors alone cost between $20,000 and $30,000,
if not more.
But the other thing that's affected weekly racing is back when you and I were growing up, the big star power, they stayed weekly racers for their whole career.
Absolutely.
Nowadays, if you're a very good race car driver,
You're gone.
You're moving up. You're going into the bigger traveling series and going where the money is at. That's
I mean, we even
you're not going to stay racing at a weekly racetrack
Would
because the money is just not there.
Would you agree that B mods have killed A mods? Would you agree with that?
I
Kurt?
wouldn't say that. I would say
money killed them
I would
more.
say money has
B
killed
mod.
A mod.
B mod costs the same as an A mod.
Well, E mod, B mod, A mod, it doesn't matter.
The B mod was a good idea at the time, but now they're spending as much money
That's what I'm saying.
in that class and now you're seeing E mods,
Exactly.
economy mods coming up,
And the economy mods aren't cheap.
and they're not cheap now.
So I know that one thing, and this is a rich man's sport. It never was intended to be that way, but that's where you're going to fall. It's going to be a rich person sport only.
You know, when I first started racing, I had $250 in my race car.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying.
What
Those
year was
days are
that?
gone.
1978 or something?
1977.
77.
Right.
the
Yeah, those
world is
days are
different
gone.
now. It's not the same.
That's a whole
Because
different
Larry
world.
Castor, back in the day, he ran Riverside, and everybody had about $200 or $300 in their cars.
Yeah. Well, you know, it was big entertainment back then too. It was a way for a lot of guys could go out for a cheap way to out and go have fun.
What else was there to do back then except
You
go
see,
to the races?
yeah, you know, a lot of. I'll also say this: a lot of people, I know a lot of people personally. They have purchased those. What are those side by sides? You know, those off road things. There's a lot of former race car drivers now that are not doing anything on the weekends, but going out with their family and friends and spending the 15 grand on one of these side by sides and having fun out there, and it isn't costing them $2,000-$3,000 a week to do this, right? So that's where we're looking
Hey,
at.
Todd, a lot of people are buying motorcycles right now.
Yeah,
Did you see a lot of motorcycles out this weekend?
well, yeah, we did. It's the first one out. You got to figure a lot of these people bought that motorcycle over the winter, and they've been making payments, right? So that first day when it's nice out, that's how you know the guys that are making payments on that bike, because they're making payments in the winter when you ain't driving it. So it's tough. That's a tough payment, but. I'm not looking for a bike anymore. I think I've kind of gotten.
You sold yours, right, Tom?
Yeah, a few years back, and
I sold mine as well.
Yeah, like you said,
I had two friends that got killed in 1 week.
Yeah, that'll do it.
You're both better off not having a motorcycle right now.
Well, my wife's a lot
I
happier.
want another one.
I would drive another one. I might give me a dirt bike though, just because I've got enough yard space. I could act a fool in my backyard and not hurt myself too bad.
Right.
But
hey, dirt bikes will injure you more than.
Well, if you're racing them, they will. We see that all the time.
Right.
We see parents all the time putting them in race cars because they were tired of going to the ER to fix broken bones with elbows and everything. But
right.
Yeah, like you said, it is what it is. Everything is very. Look, guys, these Razor things that I was talking about, those are $20,000 for one of those little side by sides. 4x4 go-kart things. You know what I'm saying? Everything's very expensive now. So
Ken
just to know
says
that.
the casual fans of weekly racing are disappearing. Almost everyone in the stands is associated with one car or another.
Absolutely.
I mean, if you're just a casual racing fan and you don't have any connection with any of the local racers, you're going to the racetrack for star power. If you don't have any association with
if here's what I
a
would-
racer, you want to see the stars race.
Here's what I would do.
Here's what I just
Go
want to
ahead,
finish
Kate.
up with this.
Yeah, go ahead.
Are you going to make a choice to watch the big stars like David Gravel and Brad Sweet and Carson Macedo and all these big major stars? Are you going to make the choice to sit at home and watch these guys on Flow and Dirt Vision? Or are you going to go to the weekly racetrack where the star power is not there? And if you don't have a connection with any of the race car drivers, you're going to go. What choice are you going to make?
Hey, Kelly says IMCA modified racing crate motors is 9,500, which is too high, but the lack of horsepower adds to the expectancy. A weekly IMCA modified is cheaper than anything else. Would you agree with that?
That's probably true, but even IMCA modifieds cost a lot of money now.
Right.
Everything costs a lot of money.
If I was a racetrack owner, this is what I would do, and I've been saying this for years and years and years.
Greg said that.
I would take 50 tickets every week to my local high school, right? You go to the high school and you tell the teachers or principal or however you want to dole these tickets out. And you get people that would never, ever enter your building. These are kids that would never even walk into your building probably, but now they have a free ticket to go see the race that night. You're not losing anyone, because these guys wasn't going to show up. These kids wasn't going to be there anyway.
And they'll buy a hot dog.
And they're going to buy food and stuff, and guess what they're also going to do? They're going to tag where they're at on their social media pages. They're taking photos. They're taking all these selfies. They're tagging, I'm at Lakeside Speedway. I'm at Valley Speedway. I'm at I-35 Speedway. I got free tickets. Hey, they've got this up here. Those are people that you would never even get in your building, but they're not going to hurt you by those tickets. You're not giving away like a sold-out show. There's plenty of tickets to go around. If I was Lakeside, I'd go up to Baser, Bonner, and Piper, and I'd drop 10 tickets off at each one of those high schools every week.
Right.
And say, figure a way to dole these out. We'd like to get some young
They're
kids
going to
up.
make some money at the concession stand.
They're going to eat and drink a lot of food, and they're also going to bring one of their friends. That's
Robbie
just how it
says
is.
the lack of rule enforcement has been a killer of local racing as well.
Well, I mean, that could be part of it. I mean, there's a combination of a lot of different factors here, most of which is just the times
Cost.
we live in today. Technology has driven a lot of this. And, to try to recreate something that happened back in the 1970s, that's never going to happen.
Well, you can't
now,
put
'cause
all
we
that.
live in a different
That's
world
right.
today.
You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube.
No.
We're out. This is where we're at. There were so many less things to do on a Friday and Saturday night back in the day. Nowadays, hell, kids are off playing baseball and soccer and stuff as soon as school's out. Parents are dragging their kids somewhere here and there. So.
Ken says the Dusty Hungry Pole racing we have today is not helping much either. A lot of racetracks are dusty.
Well, I mean, a dirt track, there's going to be nights when it's dusty. That's just the way it happens. You can't get a consistently good dirt track every night out. I mean, that's just all part of it. But here's the thing. Streaming has done a lot of good for dirt track racing across the country.
I don't think so, Kirk.
I believe it has.
I think it's killed it.
No. And I'm going to argue with you about this. There's a lot of good that streaming live
keeps people
races
from
has
going
done
to the racetrack, Kirk.
Maybe a little, but on the other hand, look at the good that we've gotten out of it. The exposure to dirt track racing that would have never happened without live streaming, and the star power would not be what it is today without live streaming. And you put that in comparison to what NASCAR is offering right now, I'll stack dirt track racing up against what NASCAR is doing right now any day of the week. And so it's exposed more people to the Chili Bowl and the Knoxville Nationals and all these big dirt track racing events now that would have never happened without live streaming. So I think it's done a lot of good at promoting dirt track racing, what you and I love. We love dirt track racing. Yes, there are some downside. Are people going to stay at home because it's streamed live instead of going to the racetrack? To a certain extent there are.
That's the key right there, Kirk,
to a
because
certain extent
people
that
stay
does
home
happen.
and
Right.
don't go to the racetrack.
But I think you benefit more from exposing more people to the sport with live streaming than you ever have keeping some people at home because it is on live streaming. That's always going to happen that way, but I think there's more benefit than bad that comes from that.
All right, joining us now is Jeremy Elliott. Jeremy, I got to ask you, what do you think about weekly racing series? It's a tough deal right now, isn't it?
I think we got him online. Did you get him punched up? Hello, Jeremy Elliott. Are you there?
Yes, I am.
How you doing this morning, Jeremy?
Hey, Jeremy.
Hey, by the way, thanks for getting up so early in the morning. We really appreciate it.
Oh, no problem. No problem at all.
Hey, Jeremy, we have a debate going on right now. Weekly Racing Series is dying on the vine right now. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the weekly show in sprint car racing is definitely becoming, it's in trouble. I think, but for a lot of reasons. So yes, I do think the weekly show. I think there's in Central Pennsylvania we have 115 shows. Well, fans aren't going to go to 115 shows,
right?
And we have a high influx of big shows. So I think we have 35 to 40 big shows, which I would say are 10,000 or more. So people will tend to gravitate to those, and you have your sanctioned shows. I mean, we have 8 high limit shows. I believe we have 9 World of Outlaws events. So that's 17 in the area,
right,
which, makes for excitement, but it also, hits in the wallet as well. So people are saving money for those shows. And let's face it, you go to the Kings Royal, Knoxville National, there's a high volume of Pennsylvania fans there as well. So, and what they do is, what is the incentive to go to a $5,000 to win local weekly show where you see the same guys all the time?
Right.
And when you can watch it on, say, Flow, Dirt Vision, stay home, and also watch, the Outlaws, High Limit, USAC, whatever, or variety of regional series now. So, I just think it becomes supply demand. I think we've taken, I know in Central PA we've taken some of the demand out of it, and I think that's a big part of it, and also money and seeing the same guys. And let's face it, if you have guys traveling, like say Anthony Macri, traveling out of the area, you lose your stars. The sports build on stars. It's like tennis and golf. So, the weekly show tracks need to do different things to draw fans in, and I just don't think they're used to that right now.
Do you think that the star power is the problem with the weekly racing series? We talk about it quite a bit here on Track Talk. We feel like the stars are not in the
stars have moved on to bigger things, right, Jeremy?
Stars have moved on to bigger things.
I think it's a piece of it. I'm not going to blame all of it on that. I think it's a piece of it because, look, as they say, sex sells. Your stars sell. I mean, that's any sport. When you go to an NBA game and find out LeBron James isn't playing, you're pissed.
Right.
Load management. That's been a big topic in the NBA for 5 years now. So I do think that's a piece of it. But I also think, supply and demand. Hey, it's 115 shows, and half of them are $20 a pop. I'm going to take my family. And the thing is with dirt track fans, they're not used to high prices. They're not used to paying $100 to go see a hockey game. They're not used to paying rights fees to go see an NFL game. They're not used to all that. So they've had a long time. And now I know Lincoln, $20 to $25 for a regular show. That hits a little bit. And when you have so many of them, and then you have your higher tag shows like the Weicker, the Tusk 50, things like that, it takes a toll. So, and then you have streaming. I mean, let's face it, you can get a group of guys, sit at home and, watch whatever. So, I think there's a lot of pieces to it, and especially you throw weather into it. What an app now.
Do you feel that streaming has really cut into the people wanting to go to the racetrack?
I think streaming is great for national series. I think streaming's done a lot of good things. It's pumped more money into the sport. It's been great for the National Series. I think you really need to be careful with how you use it at the local level because, again, you really got to give fans something they want to see for streaming not to affect you negatively. Now you hear people go, oh, well, I would have never went to, say, Port Royal or Houston if not for streaming. Okay, you might see that 3 or 4 times, but how many don't go on a weekly basis? They don't talk about that. So, now, I'm not saying streaming's the devil or anything. Like I said, great for National Series. It's pumped a lot of money into the sport. It's allowed a lot of things to come to fruition. High Limit wouldn't be here if it wasn't for streaming. So, I just think you need to be careful at the local level how it's used.
I would certainly agree with all of that. Well, the big news, you're out in Las Vegas right now. They had a press conference the other day announcing this franchise system for high limit racing. And I'm going to kind of lean on you to help us sort this out of how this actually works. But there is a ton of money that's going to be up for grabs to the franchisees of high limit racing over the next 4 or 5 years, and how this is going to be distributed out to these race teams. What are your thoughts about what was announced in Las Vegas here a couple of days ago about the franchise system that Brad Sweet and Kyle Larson have rolled out here?
I spent probably a good 24 hours I'd say 16 hours trying to think of something bad about it, and I can't come up with anything. The money's there. I know people are like, well, where does it come from? Who cares? Is it that big of a deal where it comes from? As long as the check cashes,
right?
What do we? Here's the thing: if you want growth in anything, there's going to be, a reaction for that. People want to say, well, where's the funding coming from? Well, Flow's a big part of that. And if people do some research, in 2019, it was a Series C company that had a value of about $247 million. It took me 5 minutes to look that up. So there's a lot of money with Flow. Okay, so that's where it's coming from initially: sponsorship, advertising, so on and so forth. So that takes care of that. I think people in dirt track racing want to keep it small. They want growth. They want to keep it small because they don't want corporate anything. Or you can't have it both ways. You can't have, if you want growth, there's going to be there's just going to be some ramifications for that. And what those are, I don't know. But look, these teams were not making money. We complain all the time how owners are getting out. We have less cars. We see it in Pennsylvania. We see it other places. I look at that and I'm like, this might get it back to zero for the owner at the end of the year, which could keep them around, keep drivers around. Does it mean people are going to get in it? New owners are going to come in and they're going to look at it as a money-making opportunity? Not in the first 4 years. I mean, you need more money than that because it is very expensive to start up a team. However, this is a big step in the right direction to getting more money in the hands of these owners. We talk about purses. The drivers are making money. I mean, just ratings.com, how much money David Gravel made in purse and then point money. And he's a 50% guy. The drivers are making money. The people who need to start making more money are the owners. This is a step in that right direction. So I don't know how that can be bad.
Yeah, I mean, you got to have great team owners out there. And not only that, it's hard to find good crew people to go out on the road, and you got to pay those guys too, right?
Personnel standpoint in sprint car racing is not drivers, it's crew people.
Right.
You do not, it's not sexy anymore to travel up and down the road. They have the hardest job because they work on the car, then they sit around in a hotel room. And I've talked to many crew members, crew chiefs, doesn't matter, all the way down the line. And probably the thing that they hate the most is just sitting around. So there are a lot of there's a lot of things that need fixed in sprint car racing, dirt track racing. Doesn't matter if it's late model. Need more crew members, but you still got to keep owners to pay those crew members, like you said. So, again, step in the right direction. I know people are concerned that, I guess their Flow subscription is going to go up. Well, if it goes up $25, and let's say it's $200 for a year, I mean, that's like throwing a lawn chair off the Titanic. It does not.
Right.
I mean, $25 over 12 months, if you can't afford that, you got bigger problems.
That you're very right about that, because look at the amount of content Flow puts out there for what you get. I mean, you got to consider that as well. But is
Sure.
this whole thing just kind of, instead of paying out tow money like that we used to do, this is just another form of cutting the team owners? They have a stake in this now, and they should be able to share some of the revenue. And is this franchise system just a better way to facilitate that for the team owners and give them more of a stake in the success of high limit racing?
Yeah, I mean, I think it comes down to this. Tim Clausen said in the press conference, and I talked to other owners, they're going to get a 40 to 50% bump in what they made last year. So I don't care how you distribute it. It's a 40 to 50% increase. So yes, the money that everybody saw on the sheet that I put out, High Limit put out, it includes tow money, it includes the quote unquote bonus and point money. It's still more than what they were getting in the past. It's more than what the Outlaws have now. And I think I figured it out with what David Gravel made last year to what this will be. Let's say nothing changes. In 2029, the top guy for High Limit will get about 61% more, give or take. So, unless they raise it. So, might be a little less, so somewhere between 50 and 60%. So, again, how's that a bad thing? I can't really understand how's that a bad thing. And they're going to distribute it, okay, so 2024 and 2025 makes up the 2026 payment schedule. So how you perform in 2024 and 2-year rolling points performance. So 2026 and 2027, that's how 2028 paid out. So pay it out throughout the season. Now, they haven't determined how they're going to do it, meaning they got to talk to the teams. Some teams want it every month. Some teams want it, in installments throughout the year. So they'll have to figure that out, and they can't do it differently for every team. They got to figure out what's the best way to do it. But either way, you're getting it. When you start the season, that's the money that's basically in your account, so to speak. So before you run a race. So there's no way. I don't know what the downside is.
And the race purse is on top of that. We're not even talking
Yes.
about the
Yes.
purses at the race.
Correct. Yes. So you got an opportunity to make all that purse money as well. So again, if you're starting with, in 2026, say Brad Sweet wins the title this year, he's going to roll into 2026 before he turns a lap with $425,000.
Yeah, that's a lot. So, how is the World of Outlaws going to respond to this? How does this affect the World of Outlaws and World Racing Group moving forward?
Well, I think that's the question. What does the World of Outlaws do now? I mean, they're not going to do anything this year, obviously. Everything's set in stone. The thing about Brian Carter, he's not a knee-jerk person. He's not going to do a knee-jerk reaction. He's going to think things out. He's going to talk to his people, and he's going to come up with something. He has to come up with something. Now, are they going to match what High Limit does? No. I don't think they can. And it's just, think about it this way. In 2029, the 10th place guy is getting $220,000. I think the 15th place guy is getting like $130,000. This payment schedule has taken all things into consideration, top, middle, and bottom. I don't think the Outlaws are going to do that, because I think people forget the Outlaws, everything's under one umbrella. It's their company. Whereas Flow has a lot of different ways to pay stuff. You have more people making decisions there. World Racing Group's kind of like your mom and pop store on the corner, even a big version of it, because it's one guy at the top. It's a business that's been built. Everything's under one umbrella. So it's going to be difficult for them to dig into their pockets and pull all of that out to match it. But I expect something. I expect some concessions or something to be thrown into the pot to keep those teams there next year.
Jeremy, talk about out there in Las Vegas. We're bummed out that last two nights have not ran. Talk about that a little bit. How's the wind out there?
Looks better tonight, doesn't it?
Yeah. Tonight's going to be a lot better. It's 5 to 7 miles per hour. The wind's been. Now I like wind, but I don't like wind when it cancels races. So
yeah,
it's been windy, rainy. Last night it was windy and rainy, and the weather projections really haven't held true. 2 nights ago, the wind was whipping pretty good, and then you had a little bit of rain. I think residual rain from the storm earlier in the day, and then last night it rained longer than I think they thought it would. It just it's not worked out. Now tonight looks pretty good, so it looks like we'll get 1 of 2 shows in. Love for it. It's been a bad start. You had the time trial snafu the other night, and I know they took a little bit of a beating over that. To me, I've seen it before where you just carried time trials into the next night. I've seen it a lot of times, but they took a little bit of beating over the loop and everything, not being able to get it in. But even so, not a good start to the season, but hopefully tonight we get it in, and it looks good right as of now. So we'll hoping for a good show.
Yeah, I mean, those things happen. I mean, just I don't get too shook up about that. We worked in a business. We did live streaming and a lot of that kind of stuff, and we understand things go haywire once in a while. I don't get too worked up about that. Hey, you broke a story here the other day. Eric Prutzman leaving Casey Kane Racing. What's going on there?
I'll tell you what, that was a shocking way to start the season for me. I never saw that coming. Eric's been a part of that organization since 2017. A lot of success. And Eric Prutzman's kind of a real easygoing guy. Look, it was just one of those deals where, they decided to go their separate ways. I'd say philosophy came into play. I mean, I know everybody wants to say, well, Eric just didn't want to be on the road. Well, he accepted that they were running high limit. So it just did work out. I mean, it's kind of like Jeff Fisher and the Tennessee Titans. They went to the Super Bowl, but it just ran its course. The relationship ran its course. And it happens in marriages. It happens, in a lot of relationships in professional sports. So I think this is just one of those cases. It ran its course. I don't think there's any overly bitter feelings. And Eric Prutzman's going to take a couple of weeks to reset and then decide what he's going to do. What that is, I have talked to him. I don't know what that is. I don't think he knows what he's going to do yet. I know his phone's going to be ringing off the hook because he's one of the best crew chiefs in the country. And as we said earlier, those aren't plentiful. So people are going to want his services. They're going to be in demand. It's whether or not he wants to travel on the road or wants to stay closer to home. So I do think it's a big blow for KKR because he was going to kind of oversee the shop and operations as well as be a crew chief for Casey. It puts Casey a little behind on the road. Eric Prutzman's experience and obviously his success. There's only a couple guys in this sport who can match that, namely Ricky Warner. So, and Paul Silva lately. So, I think, like I said, it's going to be interesting to see where he lands moving forward.
We're speaking with Jeremy Elliott at SprintCarUnlimited.com. Talk about your website a little bit.
Yeah, actually, now through Monday, we're running a special. You can get a subscription for a yearly subscription, $28 for the whole year. You get all our content. All you have to do is use the coupon code High Limit Vegas, all one word, and put that in the coupon code at checkout, and you will get a $28 subscription instead of $35. I think $35 is pretty cheap, but we're giving a little 25% discount this weekend. We have everything, with breaking news. We have a weekly podcast, stories. I'm in Vegas this week covering everything. So we go to all the big shows, or most of the big shows. Sometimes I need to get to the West Coast, but I have a guy out there who covers them for me. So just a lot of content, roughly 450, 500 videos and stories a year, and it's only getting bigger. We have a YouTube channel that we have the 90 at 9, which is our 3-minute daily show every morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. We have a deep dive, runs every Thursday. We have interviews from the track. We have one with Brad Sweet. It's a 33-minute interview that I posted yesterday, and it's free to the public. So we have our free platform, and we have SprintCarUnlimited.com. So just a lot of content and just trying to keep chugging along into the sprint car season.
Well, we're subscribers. We love your content out there. You're based out in Pennsylvania. What's the big storyline coming out of PA right now?
It's interesting because we're only 2 races in. Chase Dietz looks really good. You expect Danny Dietrich to look good. He's one of our big stars. But Chase Dietz in the Stamen Motorsports cars definitely, he won the icebreaker. Yep. And then he finished second the second week to Danny Dietrich, who got by him. So I think those 2 guys right now are the guys to beat in central Pennsylvania. I think one of the unheralded stories that people maybe won't talk about is Aaron Bollinger. He's a team that mainly focuses on Lincoln. They get out a little bit, but passing 24 cars on 2 day surfaces at Lincoln is something you don't see very often. So he looks really good in the Travis Esch car. And again, I think it's who's going to run in PA, how much is Macri going to be there, and just who's going. Freddie Raymer not looking good again. But it's 2 shows in. He's back in his own car, so we'll see if he can kind of return to form after winning 17 races and then dropping down to 2 last year. And Brock Zerfoss too. He's in the Rich Eichelberger car that Raymer vacated. Plus, he's going to run his 3Z to supplement his schedule. So I think those are the big storylines right now, and we'll see how they develop.
Jeremy, we can't thank you enough for taking the time to join us. I know that you had to get up early. I so appreciate you doing so.
Well, I'm glad that you're here to help us unsort the franchise system and how that's going to work. You were there at the press conference the other day, talked to all the players, and we really appreciate you helping with that here this morning.
No problem. And keep in mind that Roth Motorsports has given up their charter, so now they're 6 this year. I think a lot of people, it's kind of sleeping on that a little bit. So there'll be 6 franchises, I should say, given out this year. So, but anything you need, just let me know. It was a pleasure to be on the show.
Hey, thanks a lot. We'll have you on very soon. Safe travels getting back to PA, and we'll look forward to watching the races tonight.
All right. Thank you very much, guys.
All right. You take care. Jeremy Elliott, SprintCarUnlimited.com. And good guy. I talked to him quite a bit up at the Nationals last year, and, I said, I don't think we're related. Even though he's got the same last name I do. I said, we're not. I don't think so.
You might be.
We might be. But he's a good guy and does a great job covering sprint car racing. SprintCarUnlimited.com.
That's a great website.
It is.
And they do a lot of podcasts as well.
They do. His deep dive interviews are really good. So he's a go-to guy in sprint car racing if you want to know what's going on, especially in Pennsylvania. We got a lot of fans out in Pennsylvania listen to this show, and he's got the pulse of what's going on, not only there, but all over the country.
You want to do the David Gravel interview right now?
Yeah, we can do that.
Part 2 of David Gravel. By the way, we're going to have Bill Baylog on Monday's show. And who else we're going to have? I'm not sure yet. But tune in Monday at 12 noon live here on raceboys.com for Mostly Motorsports. And last week's show, we had David Gravel on the air. You heard part 1 in hour 1. And here is part 2, more of David Gravel from last week's Mostly Motorsports show. You know as well as anybody that you're on a great roll right now, but it's a long season, and there are going to be ups and downs, and how you manage through that is what sets you apart as a champion, is it not?
Yeah, for sure. You can't get too excited, on the highs or the lows. If something good happens, that's great, and you could enjoy it, but, if the next day there's a next race, or the next day, people are moving on with their lives, so and same thing with, a bad night. You have a lot more opportunities to make up for it and, stop the bleeding. So, the longer you do it, the more you just kind of get muted to it all. A win is cool, but, it's obviously not as exciting as your first one. But, after doing this a long time, it's all business. It's a serious thing. It's how we make a living, and, you just got to, stay as level-headed as possible.
Carson Macedo give you a pretty good run there at Magnolia, didn't he?
I didn't see him, and he got second on the last lap, last corner. So, Sheldon ran second the entire race, but the last corner. So, I didn't really know anything until I watched the highlight, but Sheldon poked his nose the first couple laps, and other than that, I didn't really see anybody.
That's really the other beauty about sprint car racing. There are no rear view mirrors in these cars. That's a good thing, and we hope we never see that.
Yeah, it's a good thing sometimes, and not so good others as a driver. That's why you got to really pay attention and be aware of what's going on around you.
All right, you're headed to Kennedale down in Texas. What do you know about that racetrack?
We raced there once last year, kind of had some weather debacles there, had some electrical lighting debacles. So I'm really curious if they made big improvements over when we were there last time, because I was not impressed the first time. So I believe World Racing Group, ASCS, and World of Outlaws are, putting efforts into making Kennedale a big track and a nice track in the future. So I believe they're financially invested in making that place nice, and it's a good location in the Dallas market. So I'm very anxious to see the improvements from last year.
We all miss Devil's Bowl Speedway, don't we? And if we haven't been without it for that long yet. That was a great racetrack, wasn't it?
It was a very iconic track. The struggle with owning racetracks and hearing they're going to close for a long time is not much changes or there's not much improvements, right, when you think something's going to go away, kind of like East Bay and some other places. So I think that the last several years, whenever we had races there, the fans, supported the track very highly, and, that's where it all started with the World of Outlaws. So sad to see it go, but it's one of those things, it's like, either the track's going to be there and thrive or it's going to be closed, because all that in-between stuff is difficult for the owners and difficult for the series, and people try to build things there.
We see a lot of racetracks closing up, I-80, Little Rock. Talk about those racetracks a little bit.
Yeah, I believe both of those got bought by Copart, and land is worth so much money nowadays, and sadly, owning a racetrack is not the best way to make, money in the world we live in today. And, people throw astronomical numbers out for land, and people take it. It changes their lives, and, it's a lot less work. So that's kind of the struggle in dirt racing is, the tracks that aren't the big named events that own the big, crown jewel events are the ones that struggle, and weekly racing is kind of dying, and it's hard to get people to commit to go to the races every Friday, Saturday, or Sunday night. You could watch it streaming live, or kids have sports, or kids like to play video games. There's just a lot of things going on in our world. So it's constantly changing. I think, sadly, over the years, we'll continue to lose the small racetracks, but it's just the world we live in today.
Well, I think Houston's going to be around a while. I think Knoxville and Eldora Speedway, we got those tracks to hang on to. I don't think they're going to be bought out anytime soon.
No, again, the ones that own the Crown Jewel events, they're making money. So, they bring tens of thousands of people to single events. So those guys are all safe. Williams Grove and, all the old NASCAR tracks like Charlotte and stuff like that, those are all safe. But, all the little ones that don't get national series, it's definitely a struggle.
Yeah, we'll see up at Knoxville. We'll be up at Knoxville in April up there, so we'll look forward to seeing you there. And also, you're going to be at 81 Speedway, Lawton, a couple other racetracks that are not that far from the Kansas City area. But look forward to seeing you soon, David.
All right, guys. Yep, thanks for having me, and we'll see you around.
Congratulations on the great start, and good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
There you have it, David Gravel joining us on Mostly Motorsports.
He'll be going at it tonight at Kennedale.
$25,000 to win tonight.
That's a high limit tonight, $25,000. He won't be at that one. The $25,000 is at the high limit. Are they paying $25,000 at Kennedale too?
I don't know. I have to look that up.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
No, this is
they pay $10,000 to win, don't they?
Yeah. $25,000 to win tonight at Las Vegas for the High Limit Series.
If you want to hear that full episode, that's episode 351. You can see that right there. And
you cut out a little bit.
A little bit of it. Took some stuff out of there. And like I said, the full interview was about 20 minutes, 18 minutes long. So took out a couple things. But we appreciate you tuning in to our Mostly Motorsports podcast, like you said.
Yeah,
episode 351.
David Gravel's one of the best
We're holding
guys.
a pretty good number today, aren't we?
Absolutely. Yeah. David's always gracious with his time. So we appreciate him.
He hardly ever turns us down.
That's right.
If he does, it's because he's in the air somewhere or flying.
Absolutely.
Because he flies a lot, going back and forth from the races to Florida.
He never turns us down, though, does he?
Not if he,
he's
not
great. Not
great.
unless he's in the air. That's about. Hey, we're going to make our picks for our NASCAR before we get off the show today. Make sure we get our picks in because we missed it last week. Scott was gone, and we forgot to make our picks.
So that's why I don't remember who I picked.
That's right.
Who did you pick, Kurt?
We didn't make any picks.
So we didn't have them. So we're at Vegas this week, and like I said, my pick was going to be it was Busch.
I'm going to go Larson.
And Blaney. I mean, not, who did I say? Byron. William Byron. You said who, Kirk?
I'm gonna predict Kyle Larson wins tonight on the dirt and then turns around tomorrow and wins the Cup race. How about that?
How about you, Scott? What are you picking today?
Or
tomorrow, I mean.
I'm taking Seabell.
Seabell.
And my second pick is Larson.
There you go.
Now Seabell will not be in a sprint car tonight.
No, because he's got to get ready for the big race.
Yeah, it'll be Darren Pittman in the 69 car. So, it's who knows what's going to happen.
I don't know if you saw that. I know, we used to have Lee on our show quite a bit. She posted a story about Christopher Bell saying she'd never seen him happier. And I literally just talked about that.
I would agree with that.
A couple weeks ago when we talked about, is Christopher Bell having a good year because the chains have been lifted off of him as far as.
Truckin' Donald says
and that's exactly
he's
what's going
taking
on.
Elliott.
There you go. Bill Elliott. Or Chase Elliott.
I saw Christopher down at the Chili Bowl, and even on a night when things didn't go well,
he was happy.
Still had a smile on his face.
Yeah. Now, people, there's more than one person that has said
you
the
remember
same
the preliminary night he got outran there at the end?
Yeah.
And he finished third.
Yeah,
he was going to make the automatic transfer into Saturday night's aim, but he finished third. He still had a smile on his face.
Now, I think he's in a good place right now, and it helps a lot when you win, right? when you're picking up back-to-back wins, it sure makes things go a lot easier. You start thinking you might be invincible, that hat dance. Let me tell you something, guys. If you've never seen the hat dance post race,
Chris Yount says Larson.
He's picking Larson. Well, I know one thing. The Bell team has a lot of hats in their collection right now, right? Because they've had for the last 3 weeks, they've had to do the hat dance. And if you don't know what that is, every sponsor that has any little sticker on that car gets a picture with everybody in Victory Lane with their hat on them, and they do the hat dance. And let me tell you, they put them all in a bag and take them home. So they've had I bet you 3 weeks full of bags. I think they're probably looking for a 4th week full of hats this week.
I'm only taking Seabell because I want him to win 4 in a row.
That'd be sweet. And I'm sure he would love to win again and love to hear from you text again. Keep that going.
Big news in the world of drag racing. Robert Hight
How about that?
has stepped down from John Force Racing. That kind of shocked everybody.
Sure did.
He was the president of John Force Racing. You remember Robert Hight stepped out of the seat of the funny car before the season began last year because of what they said were health issues, and Austin Prock became that driver, and look what he did. He went on and won the championship and did a lot of great things in that car. But here, just after the first event at Gainesville,
Crazy.
it was announced that Robert Force has
Robert Hight,
confirmed-
left Force.
I'm sorry. Robert Hight has confirmed that he has stepped down from John Force Racing as the president.
He's taken over a shotgun company.
Yeah, 30 years.
It's a Clay. He's a big arms guy, and he only taking it, moving out to where's he moving to? North Carolina. So, like you said, he's moving on to
55 years old. Began his career as a crew member on Force's championship-winning funny car
He's a
team
year
in
younger than me.
1995. Later, he was the facilities manager at JFR before becoming the company's first designated test driver. In 2004, he made his competitive driving debut in 2005, winning in just his 4th career start, and Force promoted him to the company presidency in 2011. Jimmy Prock was his crew chief through all those years. Now Jimmy Prock's handling the duties
he's handing
for
it now.
Austin Prock. 65 tour wins and a funny car world championship 3 times.
He was-
09, 17,
he was at Racing Boys
19.
Studio.
Robert Hight has retired as a funny car driver and will be doing other things. He'll be missed out there. He was a good guy. We had him in studio one time. Remember
two
that?
times.
Right.
A couple of times we
had him at the old studio,
with John Force.
the real studio, and then at your house over there in Independence. So we had him had him out twice. So nice guy. He was always really cool. And when you're traveling around with John Force, there's only one guy with the bigger mouth, and that. So he was always the quieter guy, and you had to kind of get things out of him because John was the guy who was always.
So what do you think? John Force, he's not going to drive anymore. So
no.
John will just kind of take that role.
Yeah,
now.
he'll be
Don't you think
he'll
that's
be the
what's
Richard?
going to happen?
He'll be the Richard Petty of that team, and anytime things need to be signed or deals need to be made, they'll bring out John Force and. With his big smile and his booming laugh.
So that's what I would say. Who's going to take over for Robert Hight as the president of John Force Racing? Why not John Force himself?
John Force himself. Might well be. Hey, I want to wish my wife.
By the way, and I'll finish this up.
Yep, you're fine.
I'll let you. Jack Beckman.
How about that?
Who is
I saw that.
the replacement to John Force in his funny car, won at Gainesville.
It was a good race last week.
Congratulations also to defending and 4-time Top Fuel champion Antron Brown, Greg Anderson, who won the event last year. He was the number 1 qualifier, but congratulations to those guys.
Yeah, that was a pretty big win last week, wasn't it?
Week, yeah.
So anyway,
actually, it was Chad Green that won the funny car. The actual race. Chad Green, Dallas Glenn, and Gage Herrera. I was reading the qualifying from last week. So it was Antron Brown, Chad Green,
I was going to say Antron
Dallas Glenn, and Gage Herrera, the winners of the Gainesville Gator Nationals.
I turned it on, and they were just interviewing and Tron Brown. I'd missed the very last race, and that was, like you said, that was pretty good
They
racing.
had weather issues down there.
It was.
You want to wish your wife
yeah,
happy
man,
birthday.
I'm just gonna say
Happy birthday, Jennifer.
Happy birthday to my wife Jennifer, and she's 29 again.
29.
Yeah, you never, ladies, you don't want to talk about
They
how
turn
old-
29 every year, right?
Right.
That's so she's still
That's what it
29,
is.
and
Happy
that's
birthday to Jennifer.
Deidre said she's still 29.
yeah, that's how it works. You're 29 until
You had a birthday this last week too,
like I said,
right?
Scott's birthday was this week too.
March 11th.
That's right. So happy
Turned the
birthdays.
big number this time, didn't you?
65.
Wow.
So happy birthday to the
Medicare,
marchers
here
out
you are.
there. And then if you're out,
Medicare, here I am.
and then also today, Snake Saturday parade going on. So they had to cancel last night's festivities because
What was supposed to be last night?
they had some stuff that was going on that I saw it on Facebook. They said, hey, we're wrapping up tonight because of the weather and everything. The parade's still on, but let me tell you guys, it's not quite as warm as it's been the last few Saturdays. So if you're going out there, buckle up this morning, bundle up this morning because
Isn't that the history
It's
of
gonna be
Snake
cold.
Saturday?
absolutely Snake
Just
Sa-
when you think it's going to be a great day, it's not.
only going to be a high of 50 today.
Yeah, and the wind's blowing a little bit out there. So, like you said, go out and support that. It's going to be a great thing. Lots of stuff going on in that, and there's lots of deals and lots of fun things. But just know that it's going to be just a little chillier. Like you said, when I rolled in today, a little chilly this morning out there. It was a little bit chilly.
Also, I want to send my sympathies and prayers to Bobby Lane and his family. He lost his wife, Rose, this past Sunday, and thoughts and prayers go out to him. I saw Bobby at the Hall of Fame banquet last week, and he didn't know. After that, he found out his wife was ill, and unfortunately heard the news on Sunday that he'd lost her. They had services up in Trenton this past week. Anyway, I just want to send my thoughts and prayers out to Bobby and his family.
As well
Sad news.
as well as I will.
Yeah. So, anyway, I had a good time at the banquet last weekend. Sorry you couldn't make it, but we had water issues last week, didn't we?
We did. And
I know that to be true because
I couldn't take a shower.
Yeah. I mean, we found out you didn't have water before you found out.
Right.
A week ago, didn't we, Todd? We went in there, tried to turn the faucets on, and no water coming
it was
out. I
here.
think Scott's not going to be happy about
Yeah,
that.
there was water in the morning when I got here real early.
We
and
didn't
then-
get water till 10 o'clock at night.
Wow.
So I was here.
That's tough. Not being without, you don't think about things like that until you're without it. When
right.
you're without water, that's a big deal, isn't it?
Well,
It is.
Like you said, you're like, well, I got to go down the street to use the restroom now. I mean, it's just throws everything.
I
up.
just walked out back and took a leak.
You just went out in the backyard. But you couldn't take showers. You couldn't do
Nope.
nothing.
Get the no hose, no nothing.
So they you've had like 2 water main breaks here in this area in the last 3 weeks.
Right.
I've been reading that with the extreme temperature changes that we've had, and some of these older water mains are having some issues. You know, you go from super cold and then all that heated back up again, then drop back down. So, well, anyway, yes, it's going to be a good day if you're going out watching races today. Be safe, be careful out there, have fun. Buy a ticket, buy a T-shirt, buy a hat. That's all I got to say. You got to buy some merch.
There's no races to see this weekend. I'd say you go to 81 Speedway.
Yep.
Johnny Allen's got the Enduro. You can drive to 81. I suppose there are maybe some practice sessions.
Do you want to go to that race, Kurt?
Not tonight, but I would like to get to 81 Speedway here this summer, though. Maybe the World Outlaws in a couple of
There
weeks.
you
What do
go.
you think?
That might be your best bet.
Yeah.
81 World of
Put in
Outlaws.
for credentials, will you?
John will take care of us. Get you
Yeah,
on,
that
get you on
should
the
be no
list.
problem.
That's the closest you're going to get to see World of Outlaws around here. So
And we'll be at Knoxville, too. So that's
rock
coming up in April. We'll be there for that.
rock and roll.
Great job, Todd.
Thank you much.
We'll be
Tune
here
in.
on Monday.
That's right, Monday noon.
12
Central.
noon.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in to Track Talk here on Sports Radio 810 and RBN, the Racing Boys Broadcasting Network. We can't thank you enough for doing so. We appreciate you, each and every one of you, for tuning in to the show. We can't thank you enough for doing so. It's all Track Talk is brought to you by Rod End Supply, featuring the PowerEye Midwest Lightning Sprints. We'll talk to you next week right here on Track Talk.
faster, stronger with Rod End Supply. Whether you are running industrial, farming equipment, or a race car, Rod End Supply has the assortment of rod ends, radius rods, and specialty products that will help you lead the field in performance. Our superior design means our rod ends last longer and perform better, giving you the edge on the track and saving you money. Contact Rod End Supply or order online today at rodendsupply.com. We don't just sell them, we race them. rodendsupply.com. Serving the racing community for over 30 years.